go over the agenda. So we have a 3-day meeting and workshop, which we're really excited about this year. The first morning, this morning, is the main part of the meeting. We'll be hearing from a lot of you on a variety of different topics. We have a series of introductions to set the stage for the meeting. I'll have a few remarks. Gerhard will share some remarks from the MATOS perspective, and also Bill Woodward from the U.S. Animal Telemetry Network. Kim, who's our data manager, is going to be giving an update on the status of the MATOS database and user community and how that's grown over the last year. And I think I've been really pleased with where we've come in a year since our last meeting, which was the very first virtual meeting I did in COVID, was April 2nd, I think, last year. So we're just a bit more than a year out from that. And at that time, we had only been using the MATOS database really for a couple of months. So I think we've come a long way since then, and Kim's talk will reflect that. And then we have a few presentations that I've labeled networking and innovation presentations. These are presentations about projects that involve the potential for larger collaborations within the network and among our neighbor networks. And then an update on some innovations coming out of Innovacy that I think a lot of you will be interested in. We'll take a quick break at 10:30 so people can refill their coffee. And the second half of the morning session will have some science updates about some of the interesting projects that are new and ongoing in the network. And then we have a time slot at 11:30 for anyone who wants to share updates on, brief updates on their projects, what arrays are going in the water, what arrays might be coming out of the water, or other information about telemetry that people want to share with the network. And that concludes sort of the main part of the meeting today. But this afternoon, if you want to come back, we'll have a period of time for people who have questions or want to hear details about updates to our user agreement, or if you have questions about data security within the MATOS database, we'll be happy to answer those questions. And then Kim will be leading a training session for people who are new to the network and interested how to organize data, how to get spreadsheets ready, and the process of uploading data to the database. And that should wrap up, hopefully earlier than 3, but by 3 o'clock today. Then tomorrow, the Ocean Tracking Network is going to lead an introduction to telemetry data analysis in R. And that'll start officially at 10 o'clock, but at 9 o'clock, there'll be an opportunity to log in and make sure that you've got all the data packages and workshop materials downloaded and everything. So you can sign in at 9 and make sure everything's ready. And then the workshop itself will start at 10 and end by 3. And then on Thursday, it'll be similar time frame. And the training workshop is going to focus on more in-depth data analyses in R. So we're really looking forward to those next 2 days of training and workshops, and really happy that OTN is willing to contribute their time in helping to provide training for members of the ACT network. So with that, I'll turn it over to Gerhard Kuska from MATOS for a few comments.
Thank you, Matt. And I hope you can all see and hear me okay. My name is Gerhard Kuska, and I know some, if not many of you, though these annual meetings are hopefully times when a lot of new folks have get a chance to get to join and become more closely aligned with the partnership. I've spoken with you before and didn't want to provide you with a huge slide demonstration or presentation because I know you're going to be seeing a lot of stuff coming at you. But I did, for those of you that might be new, I wanted to just give you a couple words about who Maricus is as an entity and what our role and involvement is. Maricus is one of 11 regional associations that make up USIUS, the Integrated Ocean Observing System. Now, we are in the mid-Atlantic here from Cape Cod to Cape Hatteras, and we have partners in the north, Maricus and Socorro in the southeast, as well as around the country. It's part of a public-private partnership that was created in law and includes 17 federal agencies, including NOAA, which is the lead agency or steward of the interagency program. As I mentioned, it was established in law, and it provided for a number of formalized processes, including certification, which establishes a series of processes and protections for the regional associations and the partners that operate within that in terms of the data collection all the way to archiving, and ensures those people that come in contact with our data of the quality of those data and that they meet or exceed federal standards. Now, this partnership is really about collecting quality ocean, coastal, and Great Lakes data and making them available in standard formats to support what we call critical stakeholder needs. And those can be in a variety of areas, from maritime safety, commerce, water quality, fisheries and natural resources, offshore energy, and even coastal hazards and things like storms. Now, the partnership with ACT MATOS maybe only touches on a few of those, but we're happy and proud that with the support of IUS, the leadership of NOAA, Smithsonian, and the founding ACT partners, we're proud to have become a part of this partnership and in supporting MATOS and the tools and some of the understandings of where we're going and growing the partnership. The tool was, I will say that we have, let's just say, three things that we focus on. One is really supporting the existing ACT and Maricus partners in getting them what they need and understanding what they need. Looking for new partners, and we do that in partnership with the management team, with Matt and Kim, and understanding the needs of stakeholders so that we can help the partnership identify, what direction we need to be going and the funds that we need to be able to address those needs and the growth of the network. Some specific things that we've, I think, been working on: the ACT MATOS tool, which many of you know about and we'll hear about more in the coming days. Leveraging existing resources, things that we already have in place that we can use to minimize the burden. And we've been doing that across the partnership, I think, and I'm grateful for everybody's ability and focus to try to continue to do that. Tying in ACT MATOS to the Maricus partnership and to the partners, so that Matt and Kim are part of, are closely aligned with our team, participate in our operations calls, and are aware of what's going on, because we want them to have access and by extension, all of you have access to everything that we have and that we can provide. This is not a hierarchy. This is a partnership. We're here as a vehicle, as a venue to bring folks together. We're here to serve you. And finally, IDing funds to sustain. I've mentioned that already, to sustain and grow. We have a 5-year annual funding cycle. The partners submitted a proposal, submitted a letter of interest last year when we were going through our 5-year process, and did well, and it was included in our proposal. We've not heard the results of that process, and we're never guaranteed, of course, that appropriations will be commensurate with the needs. They haven't been in the past years, but we have continued to grow, and with the support of IUS, and in this case in particular with Bill Woodward's support, who you heard from in a moment, we've been able to continue to grow, and we're hoping to be able to not just sustain what we've had, but find new funds, particularly as we see administration changes, we see growing interest from Congress in a bipartisan manner. Despite what one sees going on in other political areas, I think in our area we've continued to see strong support, as evidenced in some of the legislation that has been passed recently and in what we're seeing through the appropriation cycle. So with that, I think we do have a bright future despite the hiccups and the challenges we face. I think we have a strong foundation, and I think the fact that you're participating today is a strong sign of the interest and the potential we have for the future. So thank you very much. I hope that the next couple of days are meaningful and interesting for you, and we look forward to staying in contact with any and all of you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gerhard. And I just, while Gerhard was talking, I put up this slide of the oceans map that Maricus serves. And if you haven't been to the site before, there's a wealth of really interesting both observed data and modeled data on here that you might find useful in your telemetry data analysis. So next we have some comments from Bill Woodward, who's the coordinator of the U.S. Animal Telemetry Network.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Gerhard, for that great intro. What I'll do is I'll spend the next 5 or 10 minutes giving you some context here to what the ATN is, and I'm sure there are a bunch of you that may not have had a chance to see a presentation from the ATN before and are wondering, you know, what is this ATN thing, and why does he keep showing up at our ACT meetings? And so hopefully in the next 5 minutes you'll learn why and what that's all about. The ATN is a multi-agency funded organization. I will say it's hosted within the Integrated Ocean Observing System office in NOAA. And we have a mission to provide unity, to bring stability, and to ensure continuity to this collection of projects, programs, networks that we like to call the U.S. Animal Telemetry Network. All right, next slide, Kim, please. We have a vision, and the vision is based on the assumption, the assertion that there's a great deal of infrastructure in animal telemetry and expertise that exists in the U.S., but it could stand a good dose of coordination and connectivity. So we are here hopefully to try to maximize the benefits and the value coming from that considerable amount of existing marine animal telemetry. Next, Kim. We have an implementation plan that was put together long before I arrived in 2016, and we got authorized by the Office of Science and Technology Policy in December of 2016 to start our engines and get moving and get on with our implementation plan. So we basically started in mid 2016. Next. We have what we call 3 functional components, and you see them on the picture there. The first one is really to just, and I say this a lot of times in presentation, this is go out and make new BFFs within the community. But essentially it is to earn the trust of the community that and get them to hopefully adopt and understand and support the mission and the vision that we have, so that we can work more closely together on large scales and small scales. So that's the alliances and the collaborations. We've been doing that for several years now and have had a multiple set of workshops that have been very successful. The second one is the data management part. This is where we have set up a national aggregation cyber structure, which currently is focused on satellite telemetry data, but after several months of trying to figure out exactly how we will do it, we are now beginning to start handling acoustic detection data. So that's a good step, and you'll be seeing more of that in the coming months. So that's the data part of it. It's our data assembly center, where that aggregation point that I mentioned is a community resource, and that I could spend an hour talking about that, and I will not, for now anyway. The third one there is to actually, if we're going to provide or ensure continuity, et cetera, to these networks, resources are needed, and that's the part there where we have had a relatively small amount of resources and have selected several projects that we feel to be high priority and have been successful in getting them supported. Next one, Kim, please. This is just a screenshot of the data assembly center. That's 16 projects that are in there, and dots on a map are easy to produce. The data is behind that. You can go in, you can look at the data and visualize it, et cetera, et cetera. So next one, Kim, please. This is kind of a helpful phrase that I use that is descriptive of that third box. I said support existing animal telemetry operations. That our goal is to see what's going on, help to keep the existing efforts going that are needed to, and add to them as the community feels they're needed, and again, provide that continuity and stability. So that's our goal statement for the supporting the animal, the observations part. Next, Kim, please. So I also use the term strengthening in the network when I talk about that third component, about filling observations gaps. And early on in 2016, 2017, we did recognize the need that for dedicated data managers for a number of these efforts that we saw that were existing and could benefit from that. And we chose the ACT network at the time to be one of those where we would provide support for the data managers or the data wranglers, as well as, in this case, the MATOS tool, which was, I think, the first meeting I ever went to. I heard Matt Ogburn talk about the MATOS tool, and we haven't stopped talking about it since. So we're very pleased to be able to select ACT and MATOS as one of the projects that we have been supporting, and our goal is to continue to provide that support, and again ensure that continuity. This slide is a little bit dated because I see it says East Coast researchers will be able to log in. Now they are able to log in, so we are making progress here. So I hope that gives you some context on why we are here, the support we're giving to ACT and MATOS, and the important point is we're doing that together with Gerhard and his team at Veracruz, and it's all it's a family affair, and we're very, very happy to do that. So and you're all jealous now because we actually have a seal of approval, and I don't think there's any other network that does. So anyway, that's it for me. I think I covered everything I wanted to, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Bill. I just have a few updates very briefly here, and then we'll hand it over to Kim to tell us how the network is growing and the database is growing. Sort of three main updates about network operations. One is, as Gerhard mentioned, we included a funding request in the Veracruz 5-year proposal that we're still waiting to hear back from. But the three components of our proposal that went into the larger proposal are continued support for basic operations of the network and database management. A small amount of funding to help build and some case studies to tell stories about some of the ways that all of your research is feeding into either regional management or other stakeholder needs, whether it's related to fisheries or offshore wind or other stakeholders. And so if that part is funded, we'll be able to help you tell your stories in a really relevant way to help demonstrate the value of telemetry data for regional stakeholders. And there's also a component that would help fund an array that extends off the Delaware coast to help be one of the backbone arrays within our network. I know there were also a number of other telemetry related pre-proposals and I think components of the final 5-year proposal as well, but those are the ones that we led. We've been working with Maricus to develop an ACT Network Student Conference Award, which we hope we've just about got all of the details nailed down, and you should see the announcement for applications for that in the coming few weeks. But we've been able for this year to raise $1,000 to distribute to 2 or more students, either undergrad or grad students who are planning to attend conferences. And this year that's likely to cover registration fees for a number of people, but could also, if there are people going to in-person conferences or in the future going to in-person conferences, that'll help support those activities. And it's going to focus on underrepresented groups in the ocean sciences using the National Science Foundation NSF, or sorry, the NSF Ocean Sciences definition of underrepresented groups in the ocean sciences. And the third one is that we've been working to update the user agreement for the ACT MATOS database, and we'll be talking about that more after lunch if you want to hear the details of it. But there really were 2 main reasons we were doing that. One is that the original user agreement only talks about MATOS, which was the Mid-Atlantic Acoustic Telemetry Observation System, but doesn't talk about the integration with the ACT network. So there's a lot of language throughout that's been changed just to combine those two names in the document. And then the second component came up because the original version talked about being a user agreement and data policy, and it's been made clear to us that data policies are set by funders or institutions or other things that are external to our database. And so we've just modified the language a little bit to make it clear that this is a user agreement that sets out the way the database functions and the way data are handled and protected and secured within the database, and that it doesn't supersede those data policies. For example, if you have funding from Bureau of Ocean Energy Management that requires data be made publicly available within a certain period of time after the end of the project, the user agreement doesn't supersede that, and will work with researchers to meet their various data policy needs. So it's really just an adjustment of the data policy to clarify that difference between a user agreement and an official data policy. So as I mentioned, we'll review the new version of the user agreement after lunch, and we'll also send it out to the whole network list today, and provide a period of a couple of weeks for people to comment on that before it goes live on the ACT MATOS website. I just wanted to highlight this paper. We were, as many or most of you know, we are now able to share data across and match tag detections from receivers that are across the ACT network, but also the FACT network and Ocean Tracking Network. And this paper that came out is the lead paper in a themed issue in Marine and Coastal Fisheries this past year, talks about that connection and the importance of it. If you haven't seen that, please check it out. And just wanted to highlight that I see a variety of new opportunities that that ACT Network members can take advantage of. I hope to see more collaborative papers like that one and collaborative proposals come out of the network, and we'll hear about a couple of those today in some of the project updates. We have the opportunity to highlight research projects on social media. Kim will touch on that as well. The ATN, as Bill mentioned, is starting to work more on acoustic telemetry, including some data visualization tools that I'm looking forward to hearing more about in the near future. I think there's a lot of potential synergies between the Animal Telemetry Network and the ACT Network, and also the U.S. Marine Biodiversity Observation Network, and we'll hear about some of that today. And then hopefully we'll be working to plan an in-person meeting for 2022. So we'll see how it goes, but that's my hope anyway, and we'll get to see everyone in person. So with that, I will turn it over to Kim for her database update.